Now this is a 1/10 scale 4-wheel drive solid axle RC monster truck that was released by Losi in the end of 2020. Here we are in January of 2021, finally getting the opportunity to unbox it. I just got my hands on it today and I can't wait to get this thing out of the box. I'll just walk you guys through it real quick to go over all the features. So on the front of the box, this truck is ready to run. So it comes with everything except for a 2 or 3S LiPo battery and a LiPo charger. On one end of the box, they have a nice shot of the truck from above with the body off, so you can see everything underneath. It's nothing too special on the top of the box, just a description of the Losi LMT in a few different languages. On the other end of the box, we have a nice shot of the Son-Uva Digger LMT with all of the electronics that are included, and then a couple items that are needed in order to run the truck. The bottom of the box walks you through some of the main features of the truck, a few of the electronics, the fact that it has LED lights included, some coilover shocks, solid axles, and all that. So we'll get to all of these features more in depth later on in the video. And then the bottom of the box has some nice graphics on it as well. Alright guys, so here's everything you receive in the box. First off, you get a plastic bag that contains the manual and a few miscellaneous parts. Instruction manual first. It's for, of course, both the Gravedigger and Son-Uva Digger version of the Losi LMT. Then on the inside, you have all the basic steps that are going to get you started. Some settings with the ESC and electronics that you can change. Walks you through how to bind and adjust your radio. Then as you get further back into it, you have all the exploded views, which are extremely helpful. Then throughout the rest of the manual, it's pretty much the same stuff over and over, just in different languages, which is cool. Then there's a little plastic bag. We'll get this thing cut open. You have 4 blue body mounts, so these will mount to the chassis and allow you to run a wide variety of bodies from companies like Proline Racing and J Concepts. You also get a couple end pieces to the rear axle. I believe this is to adjust the toe, so this gives you 0 toe. I believe these are some stops for the battery, just to run maybe like a shorty pack. You can slide them back and forth using the slots in the battery tray, and that allows you to run some smaller packs. One thing that's kind of nice is you get 4 AA batteries to go in the bottom of your transmitter to get you started. Then you also get an additional rubber battery strap to allow you to run some different size batteries. So this is, I think, slightly longer than the one that's included in the truck. The radio that's included is the Spectrum DX3. This is a pretty nice radio. It's 3-channel and it runs the DSMR protocol. And then you obviously get the truck itself. Now, I'm blown away by the level of detail within this vehicle, just the amount of thought that was put into designing this truck. I'm also pretty surprised by the size of some of the parts on this thing, like the drive shafts and the suspension links. So the Lexan body actually has some printed flames in the front, and then on the roof and sides of the truck, these are just decals. You can see the color is a little off, but I'm not really worried about that. I'm sure that's something they're going to fix very soon, if they haven't already, for the next few batches of these trucks that are going to be going out. So mine's going to get dirty and scratched up anyway, so I'm not too concerned about that. This Lexan body is being held on to a cage underneath the truck in 10 different spots. So you have 2 screws on each side of the truck and then 6 on the top of it. Up top, you don't see any body clips. That's because they are actually hidden underneath. You have 2 up front and then 2 on the sides of the truck that you can remove to get this body to open up. On the inside of this body, there is a Lexan interior from the waist up. You got a little driver figure in there. He's got, his helmet, some decals too. So the tires on this truck look super aggressive. I like what they did here. It looks like the sidewall is kind of modeled after the 3rd gen BKT tires, but then the actual tread itself kind of reminds me of the Ukraine tires that were popular in Monster Jam from like 2013 to 2014. These tires are glued onto some molded plastic wheels. These are fake beadlock rings just for looks. So what's interesting about these wheels and tires is they are short course style. So that means the inner diameter of the wheel is actually larger than the outer diameter. So this should help with handling, hopefully. You can see the inside of the wheels actually have 17mm hexes, which is something you'd honestly see on an 8 scale. Really nice to have them on these solid axle monster trucks because of how much power and how big these tires are. There's also a nice wheelie bar sticking out the back of this truck. Has a roller on the very end of it with some ball bearings. So this should just allow for really smooth wheelies. You can kind of see in there's also a scale fuel cell sticking out. Once you get all 4 body clips removed, you'll notice that the body actually flips up and is on a hinge. So it's never disconnected from the truck. On the inside, you can get a better look at the internal cage and the light kit up front. So this body actually has 2 functional headlights. You can see all the wiring routed throughout. Just goes to one little plug plug that will plug into a lead going off the ESC. Moving on to the electronics that they went with on the inside of this truck. The ESC is the Spectrum Firma 130 amp smart ESC, and that is hooked up to a Firma 3150 kV 4-pole sensorless brushless motor. So coming off the ESC, we have an IC5 smart connector. So this will connect with all of your Spectrum smart batteries and help everything communicate to give you some cool readouts. On the inside of this receiver box, we have a Spectrum SR315. The steering servo on the front axle is the Spectrum S614S, and this is a waterproof metal gear servo. You do have to supply your own battery and battery charger. There's no doubt I'll probably pop in a 2S LiPo eventually, but I plan to run this truck mainly on 3S LiPo. Now that I've covered the electronics, we'll just move on to the rest of the truck and take a look. The chassis is a twin vertical plate design. However, it's actually split into 6 different sections. You have 3 on each side of the chassis. The front and the rear sections are identical, and then you just have that center section. So that's a really nice feature if you need to replace any of them. The motor and transmission are actually mounted sideways in the truck, which is something you really don't see too much. And one thing I'm really excited about is the cush drive system. So I'm sure with this truck, it already has what looks like a bulletproof drivetrain on the outside. That cush drive system will really help improve the durability. This truck does have sway bars front and rear, and the shocks are also mostly aluminum. They have threaded bodies, so they're adjustable. The shocks are actually slanted in at an angle, which is how the full-size trucks typically run them. The bump stops on the bottom of the shocks are also a very nice touch, so that's pretty cool to see. I just love the stance and how it's so low slung. The lower suspension links are pretty flat and almost parallel to the ground, which is the setup that I've honestly been chasing with my SMT10 for the past several years. So the fact this truck comes with that suspension setup pretty much out of the box, I mean, that's awesome. This truck has some nice molded plastic collector headers on the side, right and back where the engine would be, and then it also has some sponsor panels. So these are just some Lexan panels. They have some decals with a bunch of sponsor logos on them already out of the box. The drivetrain of this truck, like I mentioned earlier with the cush drive, seems like it's going to be really durable. These drive shafts are probably the largest drive shafts I've seen in almost any 10th scale vehicle. The axles are super beefy. You can just see how thick these things are. The steering link up front, it may look plastic, but there's actually a metal rod going through it. You can actually see if you shine a flashlight down those holes that there is metal. I think it's great that Losi included an adjustable servo saver. Servos go through a lot of abuse with these huge monster truck tires. So on the inside of the axles, you have all metal gears. There are open diffs too in the front, center, and rear of the truck. The axle housings themselves are insanely scale. Even out to the corners, these axles seem like they're really built and designed well. The plastic looks super thick. Knuckles are beefy, and you can see some universals poking out there as well. I went ahead and I ordered up some Freestyle RC axle braces for these LMT axles. They're carbon fiber braces that should really stiffen up the axles and hopefully prevent them from breaking. So overall, I'm very impressed with how this truck looks in person. This is my first time seeing one. I think it's about as scale as you can get while still having it centered around performance and durability. I can't wait to get this thing out for its first run. Definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. It should be coming up here within the next few days. Now, honestly, the only thing on this Losi LMT I wish we would have seen is some scale limiting straps. Now, I'm a sucker for scale limiting straps, especially on solid axle monster trucks. I think it'd be very fitting. I want to give a huge shout out to Losi for designing and releasing this vehicle. And that's it for this video. Be sure to share this video, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.